You have the floor, Madam.
Mr. President and Chair, thank you for allowing me to take the floor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies. I was really hoping I wouldn't be the first person to speak, but this is the situation at hand, and I'll go first. A few years ago, I graduated as a top-performing student in development studies and immediately secured a scholarship and an internship at a foreign affairs think tank in South Africa. Thereafter, it did not take me too long to find employment with the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, a German political foundation, meaning one of the key challenges of my time were no longer applicable to me, which is unemployment, and I was content. Content until a colleague who works for the African Union insisted that I extend my skills, my knowledge, and my commitment to continental efforts towards achieving the Agenda 2063 and Sustainable Development Goals more broadly. The egging on was, of course, met with some resistance of being comfortable, despite that I had begun to question the extent of my contentment. To cut the story, I later applied for the position, went through a rigorous selection process, and today I stand before you as the Youth Ambassador for Southern Africa, selected by the African Union to represent the 5 geographic regions of the continent and to engage with peace builders. The question that is at the core of this open debate today is how can we sustain peace, strengthen trust in peace processes, and foster inclusion and participation. In reference to my anecdote, enhancing peace processes cannot be without reviewing and strengthening the institutions which ought to safeguard the advancements beyond our tenure. In the year that I've been a part of the African Union's Youth for Peace Africa program, we have proposed conducting a study on immigration, peace, and security in Africa. And this recommendation was accepted and included by the African Union's Peace and Security Council verbatim. We have also advocated for the development and implementation of national action plans on youth, peace, and security, among other progress that has been made in advancing the YPS agenda. Your Excellencies, notwithstanding the progress made, especially the adoption of normative frameworks, instruments and policies such as the United Nations Security Council Resolution 2250 of 2015, which globally recognizes youth as peace builders, the African Youth Charter of 2006, and the Continental Framework on Youth, Peace and Security, youth participation in formal peace building is impeded by several factors. The Continental Framework highlights limited financial resources for youth initiatives, lack of coordination among stakeholders, weak organizational capacity, and technical capacities for youth-led organizations, and the limited evidence-based approaches, which is one of the items that we explore today. From personal experience, stereotypes that represent young people as inexperienced also limit their inclusion in processes such as conflict mediation. Preconceived perceptions of youth as abengers of violence and instigators of violence hinder intergenerational collaboration. And in light of these existing challenges, and amid interrogations of not only just the UN, but also the AU, their capacities of resolving and preventing conflicts, how best can we ensure that inclusion and participation can be attained in order to enhance positive peace? As we gathered here today, the United Nations Security Council, particularly in line with this new chairmanship and the new agenda for peace, has the power of setting an agenda through which existing norms can be reviewed, amended, and gradually shifted. An example of such is this open debate, which sets the direction for the deliberations. Second, the agility of policies and flexibility of our practices without relinquishing the binding principles would be of essence in mapping out the newness of the new agenda for peace and our approach to sustaining peace. With the war in Ukraine and conflicts in Sudan between the military factions, the Council, yes, faces challenges, but also it faces the opportunity to set the course for action. The first 2 points allude to the potential that our gathering here today has and I hope that remains present as we go back to do the groundwork. The following points are more specific approaches to inclusivity, and the first is to review the operationalization of inclusion to more active, more meaningful, and more trust-based practice, which is not only perceptible, but evidence-based and measurable. We have to be able to see it in our different contexts. Second, investing in the representation of young people and youth networks within decision-making processes and institutions. And I am a testament to that this morning. Through our deliberate efforts, youth across the globe must understand that they are not just being included, but they are co-creators and are essential to shaping the international agenda. Third, innovation and leveraging on technological advancements, such as digitalization, to combat hate speech, misinformation, and disinformation. One such example is the Mission 55, a game that is available on the Google Play Store, developed to inform and educate with conflict scenarios that can be resolved using tools that are similar to the African governance, peace, and security architecture, which provides for the structures, principles, processes that are related to the prevention, management, and resolution of conflict in the post-conflict reconstruction and development scenarios. The examples provided above indicates that including youth in the peace and security agenda does not require the reinvention of the wheel. Efforts to mitigate violent conflicts require agile policies that are able to A, absorb and mainstream the existing initiatives, B, leverage the existing peacemaking potential of youth, C, promote sustainability through financial and technical support, and to encourage young people to be stakeholders in development processes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to come to the end of my remarks, even though we could become invested in these institutions, the trust in institutions, particularly of the constituents that I represent, that of young people, is dwindling. Many of us no longer believe in institutions, and the onus is on us, those who are in these spaces, to reinvent the space so that it does not become only inviting to young persons, but it becomes luring so that they find a stake in development processes and in conflict resolution. And to sum up, I'll refer to the words of Martin Luther King, who says those that prioritize peace must be ready and even more determined to organize as effectively as those that love war. We rely on your efforts here to ensure that youth across the globe believe in the credibility of institutions such as the United Nations and the African Union. Thank you very much.
Je remercie Madame Chigwenya.
I should like to thank Ms. Chigwenya